Now to Finance Minister Arun Jaitley speaking at the moment, the RBI board meeting on post-budget. Let's cut across live.
Other areas such as passing the interest subvention benefits, there were some suggestions with regard to the budget proposals with regard to the strengthening the system of educational loans. There is obviously a concern about the state of exports. There was a discussion on disinvestment and the present initiatives which have been taken to clean up the bank balance sheets, etc. Overall, I'd only say this, that the environment and hope created by both the initiatives taken in the budget as also the decision to stick to a certain level of fiscal discipline have both received a very positive nod from both outside and also the members of the two boards that we discussed the issue with today itself. And I'm sure the government's decision to recapitalize the banks, some initiative on freeing up capital taken by the RBI recently, which are only some initial initiatives we've taken, will certainly be positive steps in the direction of eventually reducing the level of the NPAs of the banks itself, which is a subject of common concern to all of us. Thank you.
I just reiterate the fact that this is a tradition where the finance minister comes and speaks with the RBI board. This year it was especially enhanced by the fact that we have 3 new board members, Mr. Chandrasekharan from TCS, Mr. Bharat Doshi, formerly from Mahindra's, and Mr. Sudhir Mankar. We had a lively discussion this morning about the economic landscape before the Honorable Finance Minister and Honorable Minister of State came. And after that, we had a lively discussion with them. And I can reiterate that there were substantial number of compliments about the budget and as also the fiscal responsibility, as well as the focus on various measures in the budget, including the focus on public investment, as well as the reform measures that are there. I think the board was informed, and we had a good discussion. Let me ask Mr. Jensen if there's anything you'd like to add. We can take some, open to a few questions. The Minister has agreed to take questions.
Hi sir, I'm Shubham from Cogensis News. Sir, I have 2 questions. The first is, of course, after your meeting today, how do you read the budget numbers given in the context of monetary policy, given the government stuck to its fiscal consolidation roadmap? And second is, how far have the talks reached on international settlement of government bonds with Euroclear and Clearstream, sir? Thank you.
I think the headline number which we have looked at, and which I think is a firm indication of government intent on fiscal consolidation, was the 3.5% number going forward. And I think both the markets, the board, as well as the RBI have been comforted by that. Now, how that feeds into monetary policy, you have to wait and see. I said before that it's contingent, and I think you have to wait and see. On the issue of the Clearstream and Euroclear, those discussions are still going on. I think there are some last issues that have to be resolved, but the idea is to move forward and to get trading of those bonds, basically trades taking place in Indian markets, but the ability for foreign investors to trade abroad without substantial registration here. There are some questions last questions that SEBI has also raised that we need to address, but my sense is the direction is positive there.
My question is but there's also talk about sitting on a panel and probably looking at various options, possibly agree with FRB and Art. Was this really discussed and is this the right way to do things? I mean, because government is trying to incorporate various views on that front. So, second thing would be what's the take on the macroeconomic environment right now? CAD is very comfortable, Forex is very comfortable, inflation is very comfortable. How do you see this panning out? FY17, the growth numbers already out. Do you agree with those numbers as of now? And of course, the fact that you mentioned, you have to see how the fiscal consolidation feeds into the monetary policy. Can we expect something in the next 3 to 4 months?
I'll take the first question. In fact, in the budget speech itself, I've indicated that, and before the budget also, in one of my addresses somewhere, I had said that. Obviously, there was a divided opinion, and I think that's the essence of a whole pre-budget debate. That's a good sign. There were people predominantly in industry who felt that you could be a little more liberal given the need for public spending. There was a view of the economists which was predominantly to stick to it. There was a third view which had been indicated that even when you stick to it for the future, and underline the word future, you must determine whether you need a figure or do you need a narrow range. Now, we haven't taken a view on this third option as yet, but the idea is in due course to appoint a small group of experts who will consider this and advise the government, and it's only then that we will take this view. It's only an option for the future. As I've said, presently our target is to stick by the budget numbers that we have mentioned.
Far be it for us to opine on the fiscal consolidation path and measures going forward, other than to say that there are ideas that have been floated, such as, for example, moving to a cyclically adjusted fiscal deficit rather than a fiscal deficit which doesn't take into account ground conditions. This is something that a number of countries also do. So my guess is all these issues will also be explored by whatever in the commission that is looking at this. I don't comment on the direction of monetary policy before the policy date. On the policy date or whatever dates we take action, we explain our actions at that point. So I think you need to wait for that. I think we are in recovery. I think that's broadly what we have said before, and I think by and large we would stick to that. There is volatility in this recovery process, so it's not a strong, sustained recovery where all the signals are exactly in the same direction. So the IIP numbers, for example, were certainly somewhat disappointing. But I think broadly we are moving in a direction of strengthening growth. And it's not as strong as we would like as a country, but we have to see how it progresses.
Srivat from Business Line newspaper. Question to the Finance Minister. Yesterday, sir, the supplementary demand for grants provided for a $10 million payout to the IMF. So I just wanted to understand, is it a fresh investment that India is proposing to do, or is it a reiteration of what we planned in September 2009?
Would you? I'll tell the Secretary of Economic Affairs too.
See, number one is that with the quota reforms, we had to make certain payments. The second thing is, we have to also maintain a certain level of SDR. There was a little shortfall and that had to be made up. About the supplementary estimates, one point I would like to say is that the cash payout is about 27,000 crores. Almost all of it, except in less than 1,000 crores, is already provided for the revised estimates. So therefore, the supplementaries will not have any impact on this year's fiscal deficit. It's important to clarify this because this point was raised yesterday by several people. So I thought it's an opportunity for me to clarify that.
So we should take this as an additional payout, even though you're getting this out of savings.
No, it's not. It's not additional payout. It was already planned. It's as per the earlier plan.
Shishir?
शिशिर एबीपी न्यूज बिल्कुल डिफॉल्टर को लेकर के क्या स्ट्रैटेजी आगे की है?
So can I just add to that question? My name is Gauri Dwivedi from ET now. Sir, IDBI Bank's executive role is being investigated and examined by authorities. There is an expectation that at some point of time, more banks could be involved and brought under the investigative process. Does that worry you, sir? And do you think that that is something that needs to be a proper roadmap in place going forward, given the fact that banks' role is also being investigated so minutely by the authorities?
So I'll certainly defer most of this question to the finance minister. I think we have a well-defined process for defining willful defaulters, and essentially, broadly speaking, it may be maneuvers which, strictly speaking, are not illegal, but which divert funds away from the project and elsewhere. Now, some of these actions may also be illegal, so it's not strictly everything is professionally legal. Now, we have a process by which people are declared willful defaulters. We maintain a registry of willful defaulters, and we strengthen the penalties if you're a willful defaulter on your ability to raise money from the system. So I think that process is there. I think one of the problems in the past has been the difficulty of enacting the full process, given the necessity for following certain aspects that the judiciary focused on. Going forward, I hope the process is streamlined so entities that do, that are following aberrant practices, that they're convinced that they don't pay, and we get a better system. So my hope is that some of the attention that has been paid to some of these actions will help streamline the system. We have to be careful as we go forward that on the one hand we penalize criminal actions, and that it's not the regulator but the investigative agencies and the judiciary which will have to take that up. But at the same time, we don't indulge in a broad fishing expedition, which then becomes a reason for banks to get worried about making loans, which then will hamper the recovery as well as hamper the absolutely important investments in infrastructure that have to take place. So as a country, as a system, we have to draw that balance very carefully, and we're hopeful that we can manage that.
See, you must bear two facts in mind. The first is that NPAs which are created on account of the overall economic environment and a slowdown in certain sectors. Now, as the revival of those sectors takes place, you will certainly find the cleaning up of the balance sheet, which also takes place, because over the next few quarters then they would probably have a possibility of reviving. There is a second category which is on account of some individual misdemeanors. Now, it's the second category which will have to be treated differently from the entire investigative setup. And as was just pointed out, we don't want to create a situation where we overstate the crisis, and in the process the whole activity of lending for growth itself starts suffering because people become extraordinarily defensive. We don't want to reach that situation. So it's that limited category of where there is some kind of a prima facie misconduct or misdemeanor which has taken place by any individual. It's those areas which will be really looked into differently. The ones which are caused on account of the overall slowdown in the economy which took place in the last few years, I think there the possibility of revival as the economy picks up once again would certainly be there.
Thank you. I'd like to just build on what the Honorable Finance Minister said. This was a matter that I had spoken about in my intervention in Parliament as well 2 days ago. I think the RBI has done a very commendable job in defining different types of accounts. There are restructured standard accounts which are part of stressed assets. Obviously, we have non-performing accounts, and then we have certain accounts, as Honorable FM was saying, that really are related to a misdemeanor, and those misdemeanors have been very well defined now by the RBI. Now, when in fact you fall into that category of a willful defaulter based on those very good guidelines, a number of things start to happen. I mean, the banks themselves are emboldened to take much more aggressive action, penal action in many cases, and I laid out the statistics for that in Parliament. There are, in fact, recovery proceedings that also accelerate. But much more importantly, from a business person's point of view, two things happen. If necessary, investigative agencies get into the act to see whether there is any criminal activity here that needs to be investigated. And at the same time, the financial system really becomes something that you cannot access anymore because you are then labeled as a willful defaulter. So once you fall into that category where you've been identified as having committed these misdemeanors, the actions become quite punitive as well. And I think being able to separate out those that are suffering from genuine business issues versus those that have done things that are transgressing these guidelines, I think has been now clearly separated.
This is Dheeraj from the Economic Times. My question is to Dr. Rajan. So, do the government say that it is committed to the capital action? How far you are happy with the amount which is allocated to this project, given that AQR process will continue till March 17? Second thing is, when did the Jan Sangam talk about the consolidation? Are you okay in such an economic scenario that a large or a small bank merger process goes on?
First on capital, I've said that this is a reasonable sum and is consistent with our expectations. Of course, the government has also added, Finance Minister added that whatever was needed would be provided. Of course, in this process, we have to be careful that the capital is used properly going forward, etc., and that is part of the sort of rationale behind the Gyan Sangam and the governance measures that the government is taking through Nanush. But I think you take the combination of the capital the government has made available as well as the capital the RBI has made available, that should certainly be adequate for the actions that the banks need to take. But of course, you can never say that you've taken everything into account. In that case, the government has also said what is needed will be provided. The second question was? Consolidation is a process that is being discussed, worked through, etc. It's not going to happen overnight. And my hope is that we will find good candidates for merger. I mean, there certainly is a rationale for merging some of the banks going forward. Do we need as many banks following similar strategies as we have? Will there be strategy differentiation? A whole set of parties are going to come in, the Bank Board Bureau, maybe a special committee, to look into these issues and to create a structure going forward. They'll take into account all these views.
So is the bank right? What the main thing was these are volatile and banks are not doing well.
These things don't happen overnight anyway. So my sense is the process is going to start getting discussed and we will arrive at some kind of
last two questions. We'll take two more questions and then
Sir, the composition of Monetary Policy Committee has been announced in the budget with the governor getting a part-time vote. Are you happy with the arrangement? And the whole debate started with that there will be simultaneous formation of TDMA and Monetary Policy Committee because there might be conflicting position of RBI. So, but TDMA is not, any action is not happening on that front. So, are we looking at first like MPC coming into action and then TDMA at a later stage? Also, second question, the government has made an effort of linking small savings rate with market. So how does it hold for you in your monetary policy decision in the coming financial year? Will that really help in monetary policy chances?
So those are the two questions, three questions that we're very happy with the Monetary Policy Committee composition. It was discussed at length with the government and it has been settled for some time. And as I've said repeatedly when you've asked me, it's for the government to reveal the composition and it has done so in the budget. But I think it is a very reasonable step forward and I think the monetary process will benefit absolutely. On board and with it. On PDMA, I think that we're still working out the composition. I don't think there was any specific desire to do this before that or some kind of a strategic thinking behind this. It's just that process is being worked out as we go forward. And yes, the linking of small savings rates to market rates is an important factor in transmission and will help going forward.
So
Would you like to say something at the end? Thank you very much.
Well, that was the live media briefing by Finance Minister Arun Jaitley, Minister of State for Finance Jayant Sinha and Reserve Bank of India, the central bank of the country, its Governor Raghuram Rajan. Of course, that's an annual meeting that was held post-budget, the Union Budget 2016-2017, for better coordination between policies of the government and the monetary policy of the Reserve Bank of India. And to discuss more budget proposals, the minister there said the suggestions were received as far as budget proposals were concerned. And there was also a concern expressed about state of exports of the country. There were discussion that was held on that, and also cleaning up on the issue of the bank's balance sheets. The minister there said that the environment and hope that the union budget created and the fiscal discipline that's being adopted by the government, these both will lead to and they have both got a very good response. They've got an encouraging response from in that meeting during that discussion. And positive steps, of course, will be taken in the direction of reduction of non-performing assets of the banks. The minister and the RBI governor there were also talking about the roadmap for fiscal consolidations while taking questions from the media. The RBI governor also said number of compliments from the budget and fiscal responsibility have been received for the government's initiatives. Well, with that, it's a wrap on this edition of the news. Sports news is coming up next. Stay with us.
It's springtime and we are turning a new leaf too. DD News presents a new schedule of its popular programs. Midday News, daily 1:30 p.m. Sports News, daily 5:30 p.m. Social Connection, Saturday 9:30 a.m. Gen Next, first and third Saturday 5 p.m. Market This Week, Saturday 6 p.m. Money Mantra, Sunday 9:30 a.m. Seedha Samvad, Sunday 10 p.m. DD News, only news, complete news.